Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good Tuesday night. I am hopping on because I want to. First of all, I'm Ash with TC Spotlight. I'm hopping on because I want to talk about Parker. It is a crazy, crazy, crazy story to tell. He was reported last seen on October 20th. And I know that the missing adult flyer here says that it is October 1st. But speaking through with everyone, we're pretty comfortable to say that was the day that he was last seen. And we have, and we'll get into that a little bit more. We have a few other official things that can confirm that missing date or last seen date is not the correct information. And I want to bring that up first because I am not very savvy at that. I would really like to put out an updated missing persons flyer. This was put out by the Cumberland County Department. And it was just very vague. And first of it just didn't have the right date on there. So I would like to get that. He was last seen on Webb Avenue in Cumberland County, Tennessee, more specifically Crossville. He was walking down Webb Avenue with an older man. This was seen by a friend of Parker. And, I would love for anybody to reach out to me. I've had people reach out to me. The more that I can confirm all of this, that would be great, because it's just, from the feels that I'm getting, there was just not an investigation even done. I mean, there may have been a person or two talked to, but, the feel is that they don't even know if it was even anybody, person of interest. There are three main people that are associated, and before we start this, I make no accusations. This is just information. This is facts. And especially with Parker's, they kind of, the things that they told the family, and we will go over all of that. It's just heartbreaking for a missing loved one. So, it's just, we're going to break it down I'm going to tell it like nobody knows, because I really don't think anybody really does know. So I'm going to try to make it really simple. I'm not one to use names, so I will break it down and make it really simple. Everybody will be I try to unconfuse the situation. So there are three main people involved, okay? Before we go there, I always ask the family and the friends and anybody involved that is willing to reach out to just tell me about Parker. And one of the big things that I noticed is, back in high school, he's self-taught with the guitar, which I think is amazing. That takes, I imagine, I played the trumpet, so it does take patience, and I think the guitar takes extreme patience. He was self-taught. He played a little bit of baseball. He was good at baseball too. So I had somebody sent, in talking to people, he was just really talented. And it's nice to see what everybody says being brought to life. And I had somebody send me in a video. It's about 39 seconds. And, just hearing everybody speak so wonderfully about him and his guitar skills, I asked them if I could share this with everybody. So I'm going to play that. Now, I believe that was about, I want to say, January of 2018. Um, and if, you go on his page or his Facebook, he just have gobs and gobs of videos that he is just sitting there. And I've gone through a lot of them, and they are very, very beautiful. There is one tribute about, and I want to believe that it was January 2018, where he makes a tribute to his father, and he says, I wish that I love you, and I wish that I would have said it more. And in what he plays is beautiful. I suggest everybody to go check it out. It's just like I said, it was one thing to read about how talented he was, and so I'm very grateful for the person that sent that in. Parker, this is that same photo that I just showed. He was also a father, and just talking to everybody, after this happened, she would, go on walks, and she would just look down a path, and she would, just say, I wonder if maybe we should go look for dad down there. And, I can just very much relate to that. My son is 2 years old, and if I'm not even in the room, he's looking for me. So I can very imagine that scenario going down. I've just heard wonderful things about him. At the time, and I never want to make anybody sound like a complete angel. We all struggle. We all have our things. He was going through, it was about after high school, he got introduced to the drug scene. So he had a struggle with that off and on. And just talking to everybody, he always had a place to stay, just talking to everyone. He was just very loved and very supported. In fact, around the time that he went missing, I look on his page, and you can tell, he went to church. He was baptized. I had a photo sent in. This is him getting baptized. And if you go on, he had a few accounts, but if you go on one of his accounts closer, it was, again, around January, around that time is where I think that he really tried to get clean. He was living with his father. There was talks of him getting ready to go to rehab, and he was just waiting for a spot to open up, and he was going to church. He was doing really good. And you can really see that on his Facebook. Every day he was, you can see that he was really, really trying to grow his faith. And then something with the church happened. I believe there was a water pipes busted, and he was unable to go to church. And I understand that too, that connection, that weekly place that you can go and just really feel that. I understand that, and I understand the fear, or the scaredness of not having that. And this is where it is believed that he kind of slid back into that drug scene. He moved out of his dad's house. And that's kind of where it was at. So one night, Parker's dad got a call from a friend. It was we believe that it was at the end of October, early November, asking if he had seen Parker. He hasn't heard from Parker, and that's the first initial awareness to authorities. They called. He says he when they couldn't figured out that Parker hadn't been hurt or seen from him, he right away called in and reported him missing. You know, that's where I want to make a correction. In the post I made, and the more people remember and start to think back, there was a correction I put in there that they didn't take the first initial missings call seriously for a year. I mean, not that they really did, in my opinion, at all throughout that first year, but they did take. That's when this flyer was first initially put out by them. Is when they first initially called in to report him missing. Now, they didn't really take it serious or even maybe consider the fact that Parker may have been murdered. His family, and you'll understand as we go on, understands the fact that through it, they have learned through, some things Parker had said himself, the things I have seen and I have learned, they have in mind that there's a possibility that he is no longer with them. But that doesn't give him any less right to come home, or the people that are responsible for that to not be punished for what they have done. So they are very much aware because of the situation, and we will get, I hope that everybody understands where they're coming from, because it is, in the things that I've learned, it is a very huge possibility. But he needs to come home and the people need to pay. And that's all that really matters, regardless of what he was going through, regardless of the situation. There's possibly a murderer out there and people involved, and that's what we need to focus on. So yes, they took the investigation, the initial missing persons seriously. This is what they put out. But to me, they did not take it seriously when they say, and yes, they put stuff out in there. I believe there was a news run, but really what it came down to is to tell people that have a loved one out there that is missing, not to make the public aware as far as flyers. They said to just not to post missing flyers, to post it online, because everything's on Facebook anyways. And I'll be honest with you, I know plenty of people where they're not on Facebook. I'm sure there are people watching right now that know somebody that isn't on Facebook. So that was their reason for not really putting his face out there really avidly. And I've talked to many families, and I've never, ever, not one of them has ever said that investigators told them to just keep it online. I mean, they talk about having posters everywhere in the community. So, to me, that's infuriating. If we're being honest here, I would have blasted his face everywhere, and I feel like it's time for that now. It's time for everybody to, when we get this updated, to take it, print it out, and post. There's no reason not to post it around your community. There's no reason to just keep it on Facebook. That was the first thing that just my jaw dropped. Anyways, so yeah, a year, it was and the family had to call for this meeting a year later. Like, look, sit down. We need to talk about the past year. Well, you need to understand what's going on. So from day one, though, Parker's family and those around him let him very aware that, shortly before Parker disappeared, he came to his father and he had a conversation with him where two of his friends and those closest, buddies, held him at gunpoint. So we'll go with gunman A and gunman B. So Parker and gunman A had a deal. The deal was that Parker would hand over the title to his car in exchange for what is believed to be drugs or in a little bit of money. Because regardless, gunman A, it was a few $100s that was owed. So that's where initially gunman A, and that starts. I think gunman B was just, muscle along there, backup. And it was also believed that Parker owed a local dealer in town some money as well. Now, gunman A and the dealer were known to be together. She, from what I have found, and I mean, she has a lot of indiscretion. She's well known, and for some reason, she is untouched. So it is also, and it is so. They are gunman A and dealer are, and were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. So Parker owed gunman A title or cash. So it's pretty much gone. And Parker owed dealer money as well, and gunman and dealer were together. Gunman A is now passed due to an overdose. And the last that anybody heard, I'm not sure if he's still in, because I went and seen some posts that were pretty recent, but it was last known that he was in jail, incarcerated on other charges. So, and to the date, dealer is known to still be, untouched in the community. So from day one, police knew at least that Parker had been held up at gunpoint. They knew about the car was a 2004. The year may give or take 2004 Kia Spectra. It was dark brown. So after a year, they, sat down with investigators and they're like, look, we need to talk about it. And from what was known at the time, they have talked to two people, like I said earlier, and it's not really known who those two people were, how they were associated whatsoever. Another thing that was said to the family, which is absolutely freaking outrageous, is something along the lines, and I don't want to quote here, was, come on, maybe Parker just went behind a tree and overdosed. One, why? If I had that said to me, I would and I understand. When I say these things, I understand the immense amount of strength it has to take, because I can imagine, because I would probably have reached across that table. Because that is outrageous. First of all, the shot back was, well, then somebody would have found him by now. If it was that simple, that cut and dry, somebody would have found him. That is absolutely outrageous. So yes, we have these three people. We have these two motives, and the officers have known this from day one. And from, the feels of it, and everybody's wondering, what has been done. They have kind of been told to suppress any awareness to the community outside of Facebook. So in my mind, what is going on here? And from my impression is, if this dealer is so untouched, there's got to be some kind of connection. And I promise I'm not any type of conspiracy theorist here. and I don't want to be throwing out theories, but she, from my feels, is very well open, and her indiscretions are not unknown. And so I'm just wondering, and I would love anybody, anything that I talk about here that I question, I absolutely open the door for people to come talk. There is a $20,000 reward for anybody with any information that can lead to the whereabouts of Parker, to justice, for somebody to be put away. You can reach out to me. I talk to a lot of families, and at this point, sometimes they don't care who you are. They just want to know, and they want to bring these people home. They all deserve to come home. So, the way I see it, if they're not going to do it, I'll do it, and the families will do it, and we'll do it together. That way, if Ellie decides to do something more, especially in Parker's investigation, and this is just my opinion, at least they won't have to do much of an investigation. They'll have a good, nice layout, since they didn't want to really do one in the first place. But that's just my opinion solely from everything that I've learned. Just saying. So, they weren't really doing anything. And a part of everything that they knew that day, I want to point out some things. They found out that the car was left at the dealer's house for 3 days after it had been known that Parker had not been heard from and he was officially missing. What was done was the investigators went out there, looked at the car. The emblems were gone, so they could not tell if it was the same car as Parker's. When we all know that there are other ways that, and especially if the title, it is said that the title was in Parker's name, was there a license plate, VIN numbers, there are many other ways, and it is unknown, at least to the family and those closest and the friends of Parker. We have no idea where this car is. And, I understand in investigations, I don't want to sound naive when I talk here. I understand that they need to withhold things. And there are things here that have been told to me that I will not speak of publicly, because I think as publicly as we are talking about this, there are still some things that I feel if the law enforcement in that county, city would get up and do something, they would probably want them withheld for, investigation. And I would never want to hinder an investigation. So yeah, there have been a few things that I've learned that I think that, but I will say this in reference to people reaching out. Somebody made a late night call to somebody, relaying very specific details surrounding the disappearance of Parker. And I would very much like to corroborate and know what that information is. If you don't want to speak to law enforcement, I would just like to talk to anybody that can corroborate anybody in this. So there was a phone call made to somebody with very specific details. And if law enforcement didn't know that, they know it now. So you can go ahead and check that out. So I want to know that information. So on the flyer, it is October 1st, he went missing. A friend and like I said, I would love to corroborate this very much. And this is all information that Ellie knew from day one. He was officially reported missing, seen walking down Webb Avenue with an older man. I would like to know who that is. And this was seen by a friend of Parker's. So now I want to bring something up. So they said that he was last seen on October 1st. This was also sent in to me. If they said that he was last seen on October 1st, then how is he in jail on probation violation on October 9th? So that just goes with the fact that why would they ever say it was, the details matter, especially in cases like these. The details matter. So we know for sure that he was at least cited on the 9th. So there is no reason to ever have put the 1st. So I would really, really like to put out a new flyer with more detailed information. Nothing more, just the actual date. Everybody's comfortable with October 20th being the last seen. I would like to update that to show that, and I would like to update at least put on there he was last seen walking down Webb Avenue. I think that would be really good. I'm not very good at doing that, so I would really appreciate it if anybody out there knew how to do that and could get that done and send that in. I would love to start sharing that one, and as opposed to the old one. So yeah, he was in jail. He was in for one night. It was a parole violation, or not parole, sorry, probation violation. So, already there inaccuracy. He was staying at the Bread of Life shelter on October 18th with the girl. I would love to know who that girl is, just to corroborate things, just to confirm, to, have multiple people saying, yes, these facts are true. This is right. So I'd really love to know who that is. So we know for a fact on October 18th, he was in fact not missing on October 1st. Parker's he was staying at the shelter, and one of the things that are so hard for, I think, Parker's family and the ones that love him is he had a warm bed. He had from what I hear, was a nice middle class home, very loving, very supportive family. And one of the questions they keep asking is just, why wouldn't Parker come home? And from him being conflicted with his faith, and I know people that have struggled, and usually it comes down to two things: is they're either very ashamed, nobody's proud of it, I'm sure. They're either very ashamed or they're just not truly ready to accept that help. And it breaks my heart for them to question, because I believe Parker knows that he always had a place to go. Just from hearing everybody speak on him, I just have a feeling he knows. So we have a car title. We have money owed. We have 3 people involved. And from what I've seen, a suppression of awareness. And I just can't help but to question and ask, who are they really protecting? It's just crazy that they would say not to spread as much awareness possible for their loved one, for their missing son, and get it out there in the community. You can only do, I get where they were coming from when they said everything's done on Facebook. Don't get me wrong, but it's really not, though, because I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that know somebody that is not on Facebook, and it should be up in the community, especially in Crossville. So I would just like, when we do get an updated, because I will figure out how to get an updated flyer with the right information. I really want to put it out there for him and for his family. And then I encourage everybody in the community watching right now, especially in Crossville, especially in Cumberland County, to really start posting his face everywhere. this is really what should have been done in the beginning. I don't understand from the investigation point of view why it wasn't. But it's time now, so I encourage everybody. I will get that up as soon as possible because I don't want to share the one that they put out. It's all kinds of gobs of wrong. So I just want to make sure that I want to be clear. Yeah, to this day, I would like to know, where the whereabouts came of the car. I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle. I want to know why they couldn't identify the car that the investigators went out there and seen. There's just a lot of questions, and the more information I get, we can start narrowing stuff down. I've seen some whispers in this and that are going on, and I've heard it, and I've looked, and the family is very, very set on the they think that what they in the just everybody I've talked to, the things I found out myself, I believe when there's a connection to law enforcement, that is very much my opinion. And I want to know how. I want information on that as much as possible, because if she has that many indiscretions that I've seen and I've learned, then there's got to be something going on. Just the more information that we can get, and then if anything, I can hand it to it and say, here you go, wrap it up and now tell me why you can't do this. So that's all I'm here for. Just hopes that somebody sees this and says that I want to learn more, that can do so much more than I can. Because the investigators have known about all of this since day one. They've known about the title to gunman A. They have known that gunman A and B held Parker at gunpoint. They know that he owed the dealer money. They know the connection between the dealer and gunman A. And they've known, and they've sat on a lot of information for a while. But what we don't know is where the car is. So that is where we are. Like I said, the more information that I get in, the more we can bring attention. Now that I've done, kind of a rough run through, I like to go back and break things down now, So when I come back on, it'll be Unraveling Tennessee, Parker 1A, B, C. I will go through the whole alphabet. The more information we can piece this together is awesome. I am very sad that, I will be honest, when I first when I first started talking about airing about Parker, I was very shocked about the amount of support that he has gotten. I have made about 2 posts about him, and it just breaks my heart because Parker could have had, I'm not saying that nobody is posting what they can, but just imagine the amount if Parker's face was out there the way all these other families that I've talked to get, nobody has told them not to do that. There was nothing paved and nothing official. One last thing that does bring up for me. When it was first reported that Parker was missing and last seen. They did release the department, the Cumberland County, the Crossville, the investigators, all of them, did release that flyer online to a local group. Now I'm trying to find any of that. Like, I want to find anything that they put out publicly, officially. So if anybody has anything from that time around that area that remembers, I would love for that to be sent in, because I want to see what they were saying around that time. Because I really haven't seen much things that I look up in, and I understand why, getting to know the situation. I understand. And I just have a lot of questions, and anybody can come reach out to me. The more that do, much appreciated. I'm up here in Ohio, y'all, so I'm not so close, and the more I learn, the things we talk about never leave. There are plenty of things that families and people closest to the people that we're talking about tell me that never leave and will never. Like I said, there's a few things in this investigation where, God forbid they decide they want to pick it up. I feel that should not be out there so publicly. And then the details are a little bit more specific that are related to that phone call that somebody made late night that I would love to get more information about. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment. I am kind of doing this alone for just the moment. I may have some help coming on, but it's hard to do this and look at the comments and answer the questions. But please do, because it should be talked about. Everything that we do know should be talked about, because that's how we're going to get more information. Me being me, the more we talk about it, the people that are very comfy and think that they have gotten away with things should not feel so comfortable. And I kind of like to be the one to say, hey, we haven't forgotten. I'm going to talk about this. So get prepared for that, because here we come. And I want to create an army for Parker, because he deserves that. Everybody deserves that. So that is all I have. If I have anything more to add, like I said, this will be recurring. I will pop in the more I learn. I thank you for the people that have reached out and helped me confirm. I am very big on facts and confirming things. The last thing I want to do in these situations is throw out more misinformation, especially in cases and stories that have not a lot of information put out there. So I thank everybody for watching. Please share this. Anybody watching that is good at making posts. I like to make timelines. Timelines are a very good place to start, obviously, because first of all, this department totally botched that. So I think it's very good to make timelines. And that's what I want to do. I kind of want to figure out what was going on in the days leading up to the 20th, the 18th, the last two confirmations that we know that he was. Anybody around that time I would like to talk to, and it's just strictly for confirming things. So please reach out. The family will appreciate it. Those who love Parker appreciate it. And, we all want the same thing. We just want to bring him home. So that is all I have for now. Stick around for updates. I hope to get many updates for Parker. This is Ash with TC Spotlight. Until next time, please stay safe and have a good night.